BlizzCast, your official Blizzard podcast.
Welcome everybody to the Q&A portion of BlizzCast. I'm Bashiok, your Diablo 3 community manager, and with me here as well is Zarhym, the World of Warcraft community manager. Say hey.
Hi.
And we're doing something new with the community Q&A. It's just us two here. There's no developers answering questions, and what we're doing is picking the most popular community questions, and we're just going to sort of rap back and forth and ask each other the questions and see what we think of it.
We're going to flow.
Exactly.
So we have some questions from the Diablo 3 community, because everyone's been playing and loving that game.
It's real fun.
Oh, wait.
I've been enjoying it.
You've been enjoying it.
I don't know about anybody else.
Right. Well, I haven't played it, but I would love to. So World of Warcraft has a kooky little system referred to as phasing. Is Diablo 3 going to use anything similar?
Nope. Next.
All right, then. Is the respec system...
I'm just kidding. No, so the main point there is... so World of Warcraft, for those that don't know, I don't know who wouldn't know, but phasing is a way for the game to separate how different players see the world at the same time. They're all interacting in an MMO persistent world, and phasing is used to sort of split up those players to allow them to see the world change, their actions take root in the lore of the world, I guess. But we're not a persistent MMO. I'm sorry, Diablo 3 is not a persistent MMO, so it's much more like D2, where you load up a game and there's an instance of that game. And then you leave that game, and if you start a new game, everything's more or less reset to where you were. It's very D2-esque, so
right.
So we really don't need that sort of phasing to advance world states, just because it's not necessary in the same way to treat different players differently while in the same world.
Right.
So there's kind of an answer hidden in there somewhere. But anyway.
I think I heard it.
Next question.
I mean, it sounded like a different language to me, but
Right.
I think I at least heard something. Okay, so is the respec system in Diablo 3 going to be similar to the one in the Diablo 2 1.13 patch?
Not really. We're still working on the respec system for Diablo 3. For those who haven't seen the D2 1.13 patch, the respec system in there, which is still in the PTRs, by the way, or maybe not, which is you can get 3 different respecs by completing the Den of Evil quests, and then any additional ones beyond that by picking up item drops from bosses and using the Heraldric Cube to combine them. For Diablo 3, we don't have it really nailed down yet, but some of the main points we do want to hit are that it's more than just a gold cost for changing your mind, although that will be a major component of it. That it's targeted for specific skills, so you're not resetting your entire skill tree, but you're able to target specific skills to reset those ones specifically. To also scale the costs of respecking. So early on in the game, it'll be cheaper and easier to respec, and as you go farther into the game, it'll be harder and more expensive.
Okay.
And all those things together make it a very challenging system to implement, hitting all of those notes. And those are all just kind of pie in the sky, I guess, hopefuls for the respec system. We may not get all of them in, but so we don't have any specifics on what the actual respec system will have, but those are sort of what we're shooting for, and of course it's all up in the air still.
Right, but the same basic goal is that you want to make sure that players aren't locked down from the very beginning, and whatever they choose, there's no going back unless they recreate the character.
Right, yeah.
You want to give them some outlet to change it up.
Yeah.
Cool. So it has been said, Bashiok, that in the end of all things, all classes are going to use different resource systems. Why? What's wrong with mana? And third, why are you ruining the game?
Well, to answer the last question first,
that wasn't hyperbole, by the way.
We don't really like but thank you for interjecting some real community questions in there. So we're not ruining the game. Different resources for every class. So pretty much the basic fundamental there is having class diversity, having each class be as diverse as possible makes for as interesting a game as possible. Playing a wizard as opposed to a monk is going to be two very different play styles. And by the same token, having their resource systems be different further distances them from each other. So the wizard's resource system, which we haven't, I'll pick the barbarian's resource system, which is fury, and let's go with the witch doctor. The witch doctor uses mana. It's the only one that's going to use mana. Obviously those are going to have two very different playstyles, even beyond the skills that they're using.
Okay, so they don't just look different with all the same abilities then. It's not just aesthetic.
Right.
That's fascinating.
For World of Warcraft listeners, it would be like a rogue versus a warrior. Those are two different resource systems.
So how are those different resource systems working out so far?
They're all going pretty well. None of them are finished. We're still working hard on everything. The Witch Doctor is probably the most solid, which probably makes sense because he's using mana. But we don't have mana potions, so we need to work on his recovery of mana. So he has some people might have seen Soul Harvest as one of those at BlizzCon, and that might be part of a larger group of recovery systems. The Monk is probably actually the next most solid, which might seem weird because he's most recently announced, but
right.
His resource system just kind of worked right when it came out of the gate, but nobody's seen it yet, and we haven't talked about it yet, aside from this right now. So we're still not announcing what it is. We still have some work to do, but it's pretty solid. It's looking pretty good. The Barbarian is close. We have a new revision coming in soon, and we're hopeful for that. And the Wizard is probably the hardest right now. It's been a struggle trying to get that nailed down, but it gets closer with every revision. And the 5th class, of course, would be... No, I'm just kidding.
No announcements for us today.
No announcements today.
All right. So what would you say is the largest problem you have had while coding or designing the game thus far, and how did you overcome it? You particularly, not
me
the developers.
Me personally, well... no, I had to send this one obviously to Jay Wilson because I don't code or design on the game. So
right.
So his answer was randomness, which is a big proponent of the game, or a big part of the game. There's a lot of randomness throughout the game. Dynamic cooperative play. Server load, which is running a lot of servers on, or running a lot of games on one server or multiple servers, and creating a more dynamic or alive world. And all of those things together, they all sort of hate each other, and it's hard to get them to fit together like nice puzzle pieces. So that's a continuing struggle, and something we'll probably continue to struggle with and work on and improve and hopefully perfect by the time the game's released.
It's understandable. So next question. If Blizzard is looking to make gold the primary currency in Diablo 3, why isn't there durability on items when it seems like it's the most obvious way to remove gold from the economy and help keep inflation down?
Yeah, that kind of has a silly answer, but it's not in there. Just because it's not in there now doesn't mean we won't have it. It's not in there now because it's sort of a silly mechanic to put in early while we're doing a lot of heavy testing. Even for the playable demos we've had, there's no NPCs around to repair items. It's pretty much action kill fest in the demos we've had so far. So to put durability on items right now would be sort of silly. It's one of those farther down the line economy stabilizing type of.
So be kind of jumping ahead of where you're at right now
right,
as far as game design goes.
We could have it in there realistically, but it's just not necessary yet, and that goes along with a lot of other different economy. I'm trying to avoid the word gold sink. Economy stabilizing features.
Right. That was a good avoidance, even though you mentioned that you were trying to avoid it.
That's how I spin things.
Right.
I just come out and say it, and then
you are the spin doctor. So will all bind on equip or bind on pickup items be bound to account so that you can hand them down, to your other characters as you find better gear?
Maybe. It sounds kind of cool. So I asked Jay and some of the other designers about this actually because I wasn't sure. But Jay's response was, "That sounds awesome," and he likes things that are awesome, which is a very Jay Wilson quote. But there could be economic reasons that we don't do that. There could be gameplay reasons we don't do that. It's probably too early to say, but that sounds cool. So we'll have to see.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
No. I'm looking forward to all the forum posts asking why we didn't ask some specific question.
As am I. And I would like to say that I love all of our listeners, and I love you too, Bashiok.
Oh, I love you.
All right, well, that about wraps up our community Q&A segment. We hope you enjoyed BlizzCast 13 and would like to remind you that you can find all of your favorite BlizzCast episodes on iTunes by searching the word BlizzCast in the iTunes store. As always, we appreciate your support.
Bye.
Bye.
BlizzCast, your official Blizzard podcast.